Well, we have a pretty packed show here today, so we'll go ahead and get the program started. If you haven't done so already, feel free to grab lunch through the buffet. But my name is Colin Hastings. I'm Executive Director of the Pasco Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to welcome you to our March membership luncheon, where today we'll get to hear a little bit later from Washington State Senator Mark Schestler. But at this time, I'd like to invite you to join me with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please have a seat. Well, thank you so much for making this a great turnout today. I think the weather turning around nicely is getting everybody out and about. And if you haven't done so already, we do have a door prize. You see a little spring-themed door prize. So if you haven't given your business card up there, you still have a little bit of a chance to do that before we wrap that up at the end of the event. Thanks to Energy Northwest for being our sponsor today and providing that. Wanted to take a moment and introduce elected officials that have joined us here today. So once I say your name, if you want to just stand up and we'll recognize you. Of course, we have our keynote speaker, Senator Mark Schestler. It's right there, Mark. I didn't see if he snuck in or not, but Franklin County Clerk Mike Killian. Has he snuck in yet? Maybe not. Franklin County Assessor John Rusnow. I saw John, there he is, yep. Pasco City Council member David Milne, right there. Port of Pasco Commissioner Jim Klindworth. And last and not least, Stu Nelson. And it's not least, obviously, because we have Franklin County Prosecutor Sean Sant. Always have to get a. He's not an elected official anymore, Stu. But okay, my former Congressman Doc Hastings from the 4th Congressional District is here. Also want to take a moment to introduce some of our board members and past presidents of the Pasco Chamber too. So I'll just run through their names. Kim Fall, of course, you'll hear from her later. She's the president with Conover Insurance. Rob D. Piazza with Hometown Values. Ryan Brault, who's a past president, is here. Derek Brownson's a past president, and sitting in the back there next to another past president, Dennis Giese. This is where I get a little sidetracked, because I have a list here and now. I just kind of freeform there, so let's see who else I may overlook. Janet Mick with Minuteman Press is here. She's on our board of directors, as well as James Sexton. And Jason Hogue is a past president and is on our board as well. Doc Hastings, past president of the Pasco Chamber. Lance Hobson. And then Christina Vieira is a current board member now. I think I got them all. Thank you. Appreciate you coming out and supporting the Pasco Chamber. Let's give them a round of applause. So we're gearing up, just I think everybody else is now that COVID is behind us. And so we have a few events that are coming your way that I want to give you a heads up on. One thing that is happening currently is we have our Cultivating Our Future grant that is now open. That is for any youth organization that has a focus on education and agriculture. This is through the Ag Hall of Fame, and if you go to our website, there is a link there for an application. In years past, it has been like the local FFA clubs or 4-H, a lot of organizations such as that. And so the Ag Hall of Fame and that community and the ag community is very supportive of providing those resources to keep agriculture alive, especially for the next generation. So keep an eye out for that. Also, you might have seen too a billboard when you're coming into Pasco from the north. That's pretty cool. Keep your eye on Pasco. That was inspired by Ed Ray, and with his help and board of directors at the Pasco Chamber and the Port of Pasco, and with some other help with the community, we got that nice. It couldn't have been better timing to have something like that to boast about coming into Pasco. And so our next effort is to light that sign so that you can see it at night. And so we're looking for those that can help us out for that. We're actually trending really good. We have a goal of around $10,000, 15 if we want to get really fancy to get that. And we're about halfway there. So if you or your company wants to get involved with that, I'd be happy to talk with you a little bit more once we get to that point. But the goal is to have something like that done this summer. Along with that, too, is we have our golf tournament again. And yes, Derek, I know you have a team from 2 years ago that we haven't yet done because of COVID. But our golf tournament, Sagebrush Scramble, is going to be June 17th. It's a Friday at the Sun Willows, just right down here. It's always a good time. And I think this is going to be the 8th or 9th year that we've had this. Now, it's hard to keep track now since we haven't had it for a couple years. But Gisa, thank you so much for being our premier sponsor for that again. That's exciting to have you guys back on board. And so there's still room for teams, whole sponsors, and dinner sponsor and so forth. But you'll find that information up on our website here real soon. And then, gosh, there's a lot of stuff going on. We have our Crawdad Boil, as I should say now it's going to be known as Crawfest. We have a few of our committee members here that is on that committee, and I think you're going to find this event really take off. It's had its growth prior to the pandemic, and I think the last year we had about 250 people, but I have a feeling we're going to be in the 400 range this year and growing larger. So you'll see some more information on that. Excited to have some live music this year, and we'll see if we can get through 1,000 pounds of crawfish. So that's what we're ordering up. So that sounds like a lot, but there's some folks out in the Tri-Cities that are Cajun. They can put down quite a bit. So, and then before I wrap up, I know that we have some new members here, and I want to take this opportunity to introduce them. Now, I don't know if maybe somebody has snuck in, but I first would like to introduce Hector from Tito Eco Wash to come up. And then Jason Gurnis show up. Did he sneak in? They've been a member for a couple years. He just hasn't come to a lunch. And then Ann Jordan, has she snuck in too? Well, Hector, you get all the glory this time. So with that, Hector, if you want to come up here in a couple seconds, tell us about your company and what you're up to.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hey everybody, how are ya? Good. Who's heard of Tito Eco Wash? Raise your hand. Awesome. So we're basically the car wash to the waste industry. We have similar machines as Waste Management. We come up to curbside, whether it's business or household. We lift your dumpsters and your garbage cans and basically pressure wash them at a high temperature up to 265 degrees, eliminating all bad odors, eliminating all bacteria, and leaving them nice and clean. So we do 2-yard, 4-yard, 6-yard, and 8-yard dumpsters and all residential bins. So we're here to be of service. Thank you so much.
There you go. Thank you. Here's your.
Oh, thank you.
Display that. Yeah, at some point we'll have to figure out how we can do a live demonstration, and maybe we'll have an opportunity at maybe the golf tournament might be a good time too. So we'll figure something out with that. So that's the end. You get to listen to me now. I'm trying to fire through this because we have a lot going on. But at this time, I'd like to introduce Kim Fall, who is our president of the Pasco Chamber. She's with Conover, which is a division of Hub, and she's our 21-22 Pasco Chamber president. So let's give Kim a warm welcome.
Thank you. Colin confused me. He always tells me I have to come up here and get my picture with our new members, and it just like went on by. So I didn't just stand up here for fun, guys. It's like, there was a reason. Anyway, glad to see so many wonderful people here today. Kind of a full room, which is great. This is what we're used to. So welcome back to those who haven't been here a while. Good to see you. So I would like to introduce our community spotlight for today. I would like to welcome Ricky Robinson. If you would like to come on up and share a few words about Virgie Robinson and the Foundation Memorial Golf Tournament. He wasn't able to come the last time, so we're very pleased to have him here today.
Thank you very much. At the last meeting, we sent one of our board members here, Tony Fight. Some of you remember, she did an excellent job. Apparently, we got some team signups for that. And so I'm not going to go back over what she probably went over when she was here. But speaking of golf tournaments, yes, we have one coming up in April. And since the Pasco Chamber is having one in June, we're giving you the opportunity to get tuned up for that one. This one's April the 23rd, right over here at Sun Willows. It is our 8th golf tournament. It would be our 10th, but we were rudely interrupted by the same thing that interrupted everybody else. And so it's our 8th. We will resume. And we've got a couple of things going on, and I've got to be careful how we promote all of this stuff because simultaneously with our golf tournament, we're having an online charity auction, which is kind of a spin out of an activity that we used to do with our golf tournaments. We used to have something called a meet and greet, which took place the night before. But we decided as a board that we, first of all, when we canceled our golf tournament in 2019, we just kind of canceled it, didn't do anything. And then when we found out we had to cancel it again, well, wait a minute, that was 2020. When we found out we had to cancel it again in 2021, we decided we had to do something just to kind of stay in front of the eyes of the community and so forth. So we did a charity auction last year. It was our first one. None of us knew what we were doing, but we did it. And we got a lot of help from the charity, online charity auction to help us do that. We're going to do that again. And the charity auction takes place the week leading up to the golf tournament. It's all online, and we are now collecting items that you may want to donate and help us out that way. And if not, just participate in the auction itself. It will be online, so if you have a computer or a phone, you can participate on that. And if you'd like to get more information on that, go to our website there, www.vmrscholarships.org, and you can find out more about it there. And then we're going to kind of back up and let you know what we were doing before COVID showed up. Just prior to that, in 2019, my sister, some of you may remember her, Latanya, she is now a pastor of a church on the East Coast, back in the Washington, D.C. area. And so typical of a offspring of Virgie Robinson, always doing something in the community and so forth. So what her church did is went to Kenya, Africa, and founded a school. And so there is a school in Kenya. I don't know the name of the town. I can't remember, but it is in Kenya. And it's called Springs of Living Waters Academy. What we had begun to do when COVID showed up was to establish a relationship between that school in Kenya and the Virgie Robinson Elementary School here in Pasco. And we were beginning to embark upon a letter writing pen pals and stuff like that with the kids. We thought that'd be kind of one of the coolest things in the whole entire world, to have a group of kids, African kids, that live in Kenya, way out in the boonies someplace, to establish a pen pal relationship with the group of kids way out here in the boonies, full of Hispanic children. And we thought that would be kind of noteworthy. And so all of that got put on hold because of COVID. And then another thing happened with that is that the administration at Virgie Robinson School changed. And so the new administration there didn't know anything about any of this. And so the good news is that we've gotten a chance now, since we're opening back up, no masks and this, that, and the other. We can go back in schools and reintroduce ourselves to the principal there, and they are fired up about this. So look for more information about that. Revisiting our 3-year plan that we had prior to COVID, is we had established an endowment fund. Where's Ryan Broad? I saw him. Thank you. It was his idea that we do that. And we had set a goal to get $25,000 into that thing. By 2019, we actually did that first in 2017. So we had to put that on hold. And so now our new goal is to reach that by 2022. That's right now, isn't it? All right. And so I'm happy to report that we're over halfway there. We've got over $12,000 into that endowment fund. So that's why we're here pitching this thing, because we want to try to get that by the end of this year, and you can help. And another thing that we wanted to do was to apply for some community grants with United Way, because it's all part of our mission. Our mission is primarily to give scholarships to kids that go to the Virgie Robinson Elementary School. When they graduate from high school, they're eligible to apply for a scholarship. And then also to provide support to the staff and to the school in any kind of thing that they want to try to pursue. And then to partner with the school district to explore the introduction of the STEAM STEAM curriculum at Virgie Robinson School. We had planned to try to do that by 2021. We still plan to do that. We don't know when, because we just reintroduced ourselves to the school, and we're just starting to do some stuff. We met with the school last week, and one of our board members who's here with us today, Joanna Harrington, she works with the K kids and stuff like that. She's in charge of the kids. Another one of our board members here is Elaine Banks. Many of you know her. She's in charge of us, and she keeps us on track. And those of you who know Elaine, she's good at doing that. So again, what is STEAM? STEAM stands for, most people are familiar with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. So STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, because there's a relationship between math and music and so forth. Outside of being a graduate of Pasco High, I am also a former school teacher in the Pasco School District. When I stepped away from actively teaching school, I got into social services and stuff like that, and I retired from King County Housing Authority. I spent 30 years writing grants and developing programs and stuff like that, similar to what we're talking about. So this is why we're trying to do these kinds of things with partnering with the Pasco School District through the Virgie Robinson Elementary School. That was cute, wasn't it? And of course, if you'd like to help us continue our mission, there are ways you can do that. Remember us with United Way. So when the United Way campaign comes around to wherever you work or wherever they get you at, target us. We'd love to get that money too. And then when you shop on Amazon Smile, Amazon's a new member in here, right? Okay, so when you shop at Amazon Smile, you can designate us. So whenever you buy something through Amazon, they donate a portion of that to us at the Virgie Robinson School. You can also donate to us directly at our website, or you can write me a check. I'm here, and I'd be happy to take this. And you can contact us via email at vmrscholarships@gmail.com. And that guy there is a crucial member of our group. He is Joe's assistant and a good person to have on board. And I brought some sign-in sheets, so if you're interested in either sponsoring a hole, putting a team together so you can get warmed up for the golf tournament that the Chamber is having in June, I'm here, and just let me know, and I'll make sure that you have a form before you leave. And with that, thank you very much for your time.
Very good. Thanks for expanding for us on what all you do. So thank you. I appreciate that. So you betcha. Next, I would like to talk to Mr. Tim Neese. I haven't seen you in forever. Been a while. Yes, he is our sponsor presentation today from Energy Northwest. So come on up. Do you need a clicker? Do you want a clicker?
I do.
Okay. Or do you want Colin to
Somebody
click?
else to operate it.
You want Colin to click?
I'll try it, and Colin can be a backup. Good afternoon. Hey, it's great to be here today. It's been a while since I've been in front of this group, back to my PUD days. It's great to see so many friendly faces and Stu Nelson. So I've gone on, I went to Energy Northwest from the PUD about 3 years ago. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Energy Northwest today and appreciate the opportunity to be the sponsor today. So Energy Northwest, oh, that doesn't go that way. Okay. Not doing it. Thank you. So Energy Northwest is a joint operating agency made up of 27 PUDs and municipal utilities, mostly PUDs, municipal utilities like City of Richland. The main thing we do is power generation. We have generation of wind, solar, small hydro, nuclear, battery storage, and EV charging. And you will note that our portfolio is 100% carbon-free electricity, and we're proud of that. We also have expertise in other services. The main thing we do is generation, but we also do IT and cyber services. We do project management, workforce development, and we do those for community partners as well as other utilities throughout the whole region. And really the purpose for our existence is if we can provide a solution to utilities in the Northwest that's going to make their operation more efficient and lower their costs, that's what we're after. If we can't do that, then we don't work with that utility necessarily, but through economies of scale, we're able to do that. And then also we do a fair amount of work in the community as well. We do mostly, we have 2 labs, an environmental lab and a calibration lab, and we do calibrations and environmental work for a lot of community partners, not necessarily utilities. City of Pasco, we do wastewater testing. Did you know that, Dave? Sorry. And we do work with the ports quite a bit, but cybersecurity is a really big deal in this day and age, and because of our nuclear plant, the NRC makes us have a very robust cyber department. So if anybody's interested in cyber, give me a call. I'd be glad to chat with you a little bit. Okay, on to the next. Kind of our biggest deal in facing our industry is the whole thing with carbon reduction. So in 2019, CETA was passed by our state legislatures. Clean Energy Transformation Act is what it stands for. And the timeline for that is by 2025, we'll have no coal. By 2030, we'll have what's called greenhouse gas neutral, meaning if you have a bunch of hydro or something that's clean, you can sell some of the environmental attributes to that to somebody that's burning natural gas, and it makes them somehow neutral on paper. And then by 2045, we're going to have there'll be no more greenhouse neutral. It's 100% clean electricity. So that's the time frame. So it's a great goal, and it's good, but I'll just kind of point out one of the problems. So you see the 64% number there, that's hydro. And that's existing hydro. That's all the dams on the Columbia and Snake River. And we're not going to build more of those at this point in time, and we're fighting for our lives to try to protect the ones on the Snake River and appreciate all of the help that this community gives us for that. So then you go to the purple one, 9%, that's CGS, that's Columbia Generating Station, the nuclear plant out at Energy Northwest. And then the 7% above that, the kind of green and the whatever color that 13% is, kind of mustard. So that's coal and natural gas. That's 20%. So those are going to go away. And then that leaves you with 7% wind. Solar doesn't even make a blip on this because for utility scale solar in 2019 is when this came from. There was not a lot of utility scale solar. But anyways, the problem is you got to get something. Coal and natural gas are firm. You can call on them anytime. And if we're going to replace all of that gap with wind and solar, that's going to be a little bit of a problem unless you guys are okay if the electricity doesn't work when it's dark or not windy. So that's the challenge that we have. And so with that, go ahead to the next one, Colin. So what we think is the best mix, there will be wind and solar, and there's certainly a place for wind and solar. But you need something that can firm it. So we want to hold on to our existing hydro, and we want to hold on to our existing nuclear. Ironically enough, Columbia Generating Station license retires in 2043, and we're supposed to be 100% clean by 2045. So we're doing renewal efforts now to try to get that renewed. I think that's something that we'll need. But the answer that we look down the road is new nuclear. And so with that, go ahead to the next one. So Energy Northwest received, or is part of a funding package for 2 projects, $4 billion each. One of them is X-Energy. That's small modular reactors, are 80 megawatts each. The initial grant is for 320 megawatts. And the ideal location for that site would be right next to Energy Northwest. And that's not finalized yet, but that's something we're working with DOE on and others. And then Terrapower is the other project that was awarded that. Terrapower is owned by Bill Gates, I think some of you probably know, and they're working with Pacificor, who is essentially owned by Berkshire Hathaway, and they are going to site that in Wyoming at a coal plant, an old coal plant. They already have the transmission there, so it kind of makes sense. Energy Northwest may be the operator of that, and we are the alternate site for that one as well. Let's go ahead. And so since these grants were announced a couple of years ago, what we're doing now is we're working with our technology partners to develop the licensing. We're doing all the preliminary stuff, site analysis, environmental review, all of the permitting, all of our due diligence on the costs, and then community stakeholder outreach. These plants should be online if things go as scheduled by 2030. So these will be the first of its kind. But as we go into the future, I mean, nuclear is non-carbon emitting. Nuclear is there when you need it. And I think it's just going to be a critical part of our future. So with that, I think that's my last one. Did I do okay? Did I drag on too long? All right, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Neese. Come back again. Okay, our keynote presentation. Senator Mark Schestler, we've been waiting for you. Mr. Schestler represents the 9th Legislative District, which spans part or all of Adams, Asotin, Franklin, Garfield, Spokane, and Whitman counties. Senator Schestler was elected to the House of Reps in '92. Served for 12 years and was elected to the Washington State Senate in 2004, served 8 years as the Senate Republican leader in the Senate Republican caucus. The senator serves on 2 Senate committees, Labor, Commerce, and Tribal Affairs, and Ways and Means. He also serves in an appointed position on the Select Committee on Pension Policy. Senator Schestler is a 5th-generation dryland wheat farmer in Ritzville. Awesome. The seat of Adams County. On his family's land, and he's been farming since since 1880s. Not you, your family. Yes. He and his wife Ginger are proud parents of 2 married children, Veronica and Cody, and their grandparents to a grandson and 2 granddaughters. So please give us a warm welcome. So, thank you. Do you need a clicker?
No,
Okay, no clicker.
not a lot. Don't need a lot of technology. If I go too long, give me the hook. If I don't go long enough, I guess I'll have to answer questions. Happy to do that. You know, nobody ever said a politician didn't talk long enough. And I still believe that. You know, since redistricting, I think I've been a 10-year member of the Pasco Chamber. I got the Red Lion frequent guest card. And, the one constant are the Doc Hastings and Ed Rays here around this community. So I thought about it, with Steph, what are you going to talk about after session? And from time to time on a Sunday morning, I would watch the Journal Week in Review, hits and misses. And I thought, boy, this is a year of hits and misses that are out there. It's unprecedented. When I got to Olympia, the budget was in the $15 billion range. The money above and beyond our budget requirements for the next 3 years was $15 billion. $15 billion over and above. In 1993, that was the entire budget. So we're talking real money, kids. And long, long ago, one of the members told me too much money can be a curse because there's temptations to overspend and you can't say no. It's just really hard. So it can be a problem. It can also be an opportunity. There's no way we would have been able to do a Pension 1 COLA for 2 more years without that bump. PERS 1 and TERS 1. The funds will be there in a few years because of an added investment, but not yet. But you could do it under these circumstances with a modest benefit. So that's some of the hits. We also did, for the first time that I can recall, Left 2, our active law enforcement and firefighters, got an increase in actuarial years counts and a benefit increase for the retirees because due to the really good management of our state investment board, they could get that. Now, our oldest public servants in Left 1 have a fund that's extremely well funded. We haven't made a contribution since Y2K. So they got a one-time bonus. After that bonus, they're still 143% of fully funded. So I think we're going to meet our obligations for those retired police and fire leaders. I was proud I got to sponsor the Left 1 pension bill because everybody wanted to do something for System 2, but the real dough was in System 1. The single biggest miss this session is transportation. Now, who likes this package? AWB, Microsoft, Amazon, the Seattle City Chamber. Who doesn't like it? AWB and the people that are going to find out what's really in it. Because it is a transit-heavy package. It's a ferry-heavy package. And not much else. You took transit over roads and public safety on those highways. People die on Highway 12. People die on Highway 17. We get to hear about it. In fact, the only testimony from this region in favor of this came from Ben Franklin Transit. And last I heard, they had plenty of money. So there's something wrong if Ben Franklin Transit wants it, but the chamber, the counties, the cities don't. That is a problem. There's so many billions that in Puget Sound, kids are going to ride free on the ferries. Transit, train, that's a great deal. It doesn't do much for people in the 4th or 5th Congressional District for their kids to ride free. Riding free is when you borrow mom and dad's car and it's full of gas. That's the difference. Now, Microsoft proudly announced, hey, there's $150 million here for Vancouver to Vancouver rail. Hey, that's neat. Except they don't tell you what the final cost is. A minimum of $24 billion to connect Vancouver to Vancouver for 5,000 people a day. Not sure that's a real good return on investment. It's also the most partisan transportation package I've ever seen. You go back to the people that predated me, Pat Patterson, Gene Prince, Irv Newhouse, Larry Sheehan. It was always bipartisan. I mean, I thought the one package stunk, but Mike Hewitt voted for it because, hey, it keeps Highway 12 moving, it does some things. There was always some bipartisan support. This was the single most partisan act I've ever seen. $17 billion written by one side of the aisle. That is a real problem. But even deeper in this is if you read the back of the budget. The back of the budget in Olympia speak is proviso, which means here's how you're going to spend the money and here's how you're going to do things that we don't want to tell you about. First of all is a Councilmatic vote for sales tax for transit, not a vote of the people, Councilmatic. A 2030 target for the end of all fossil fuel-powered new vehicle sales. Border County taxing authority for gas tax. And an expansion of traffic cams. We all agree you shouldn't speed in the school zone. Well, they want to make that school zone up to a mile. But while we're at it, let's add parks and hospitals. You know, in some of our communities, that means the whole town's a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. And photo cams are just fine for enforcing it. Not a really, really good idea. One of the things when you represent 6 counties, soon to be 8 next year, problem is cities like TIB, Transportation Improvement Board, counties like Crab, they got nothing in this. 2 of the best run transportation packages in my career are Crab and TIB. They didn't see anything. And last but not least, you get to pay a lot more for an ID card. Enhanced driver's license, license plates, over and over, and you don't get anything for it. You look at our high fuel prices today, look at California for the future. Because in the past year, the legislature agreed to sue the governor over a veto that prohibited low-carbon fuel standards from taking place unless there was a traditional gas tax that went to roads. That's conveniently taken out of the back of the budget. That's not a real good idea, folks, because it is clearly a problem. Some of the other things that come to mind, some of you know Jason Mercier, perhaps. He wrote a really good letter, email just the past day or so. The final night of session, the floor leader made a challenge to a committee report. And this is inside Olympia speak, so be patient if I don't explain it well. But a challenge was made that the bill before us for concurrence violated the scope and object, or what is supposed to be in it. Unlike the other Washington, we have to be tight what we do. The conference report was on a bill that was bipartisan, integrating growth management into, or integrating climate change into growth management. And we got to the point where half a dozen of my colleagues voted for it. And a few of the folks on the other side of the aisle voted against it. That's probably a sign that the policy is pretty good. Well, it came back with those provisions changed, but it threw in new taxes, which had not been part of anything in the title. Lieutenant Governor made a drastic error. If you can read Jason's email, please do. Because he whined and moaned and said, this isn't right, this is a bad thing, but I'm going to let it happen. So something totally unrelated gets attached. That's what happens in the other Washington. That's wrong. And once you have a president's ruling, they become a precedent. They're not law, but that's the way we do things. That's wrong in Olympia. That's not the Olympia way of doing things. And Denny Heck made a grave mistake. A few miscellaneous odds and ends. I don't have to talk about how we feel about Patty Murray and Governor Inslee doing yet another dam breaching study. But here's what we learned from our colleagues in Northwest Washington. The Skagit River has 2 dams, and they're owned by Seattle City Light. They generate very affordable electricity. So they sell their electricity to California at a great price because it's green, and turn around and buy BPA energy, which is affordable. And they make a nice profit. They built these dams with no fish passage, and they deny there was ever fish there. The tribes and the old-timers don't agree. So when they're blaming us for dead orcas, we got to breach the dams, look no farther than their own backyard. We need fish ladders on the Skagit dams. What's wrong with that? We all believe fish ladders are a good idea. A couple of the other could have been hits. Now they're misses, I guess. One was the nurse staffing bill for our hospitals. It was a totally unattainable level of staffing. We don't have the professionals to do it. But in the back of the budget, 2 things happened. Worked with my colleague, Senator Mullet, that I do capital budget with. We moved some additional nursing slots into Bellevue College in Seattle, or Bellevue, with former Governor Locke, their president. And then EWU seized on the opportunity, and they thought about it, and they said, hey, Mark, we were going to come in next year for an expansion of our nursing program in Spokane. What if we jump-started it a year? So I talked to the Republican lead on the budget, talked to the Democrat lead, we got it. Now, the only way you fix a nurse staffing shortage is to increase the supply. You got to do it in Eastern Washington, Western Washington. It doesn't matter to me whether it's our community technical colleges or 4-year. It is a real issue. You cannot pay a visiting nurse more than the hospital manager on a per-year basis and sustain it. So that was, I guess, could have been a miss, turned into a hit. And then the other one that was hotly debated was bringing back ergonomics. Approximately 20 years ago, L&I came out with ergonomic rules that were completely unmanageable, didn't fit, and there was an initiative that said no. 20 years later, some people trusted that maybe you taxpayers forgot about that. After an all-night debate, it passed the House 50-48. Darndest thing, it didn't get out of the Senate. Thank God for the Senate. It was a really bad public policy. So there's hits, there's misses. I could go on for a long time. It's not all that entertaining to listen to me. So how about if we try a few questions? Felix, please. Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm happy to see that some of the corrections were made to some of the outlandish legislation last year, which really inhibited the capacity of law enforcement officers to carry out their duties, particularly replacing the standard of a probable cause with a reasonable care, enabling officers to
Mm-hmm.
suspect at the crime site. Pretty good. So that's important to note. One thing that He's not doing. Given the geopolitical things, given the war at our doorstep in Europe, given the possibility of conflict with China in the not too distant future, greater conflict, we're going to have to readjust trade. And we should start taking steps now, it seems to me, to position not only our farmers, but our tech industry, our manufacturing, our other sectors here so that we can be prepared to move in the direction that keeps us viable. Maybe looking at more reliable trade partners now. Do a little trade promotion. I don't see anything happening on that front. I wonder if you have a comment on that.
Well, thank you, Felix, because I'd meant to touch on the policing bills. I think we could have done a little better. 5919 had 30 votes coming out of the Senate, and then the majority in the Senate didn't want to concur. That was unfortunate. I'll tell you one thing as a community you want to remember. 4 or 5 of my colleagues across the aisle voted for some things a year ago that probably weren't right. And they went back and they did old-fashioned ride-alongs with their police, city and county, had conversations with mayors, and they came back and said, dang it, we got to fix this. And that's an important part of lobbying we can't forget. On the trade issue, I think it's a difference in administrations. Governors Locke and Gregoire were very enthusiastic about trade and trade missions. This governor has chosen climate change to be his enthusiasm. I don't know what's going to change that, but his zeal for that, I think I'd happily replace with a little more emphasis on trade. Next. You guys are pretty easy. Hey, Doc.
One question I have, since the feds got rid of the certificate of need some years ago and left that to the states as it relates to hospitals, was there any discussion at all, and this, I know it would be pretty hard to pass given the makeup there of the legislature, but was there any discussion at all about relaxing the certificate of need in some way to help the hospitals, especially when we went through this pandemic?
It's been underneath the surface with the usual turf wars between surgery centers and hospitals, but it's pretty much under the radar screen in those discussions.
Any discussion about the governor's emergency powers?
Sure. The bill that went out of the Senate sounded pretty good, but if you've been around Olympia for anything to do any good, all 4 caucus leaders had to agree. Now, no matter who the governor is, 2 of those leaders are still going to protect their person. 3 or 4 might have been enough, or time dates, but unfortunately the House put it down about 1:30 a.m. Just before the close of session. So it's still out there, it's still lingering, and by the way, we are in year 3. The good news is we hit the pause button. The bad news is, and we took away some of the most egregious parts of it went away. The bad news is, of course, it's still there. And what they haven't told you is how much it costs for those reforms. The costs of those reforms are going to make private sector long-term care look even better. Early in the session, I could cite the number, but you could see a 60% increase, and we still haven't got all the reforms in. So we dodged a bullet for a little while, and I think if we do anything in the next year or 2, I really think we need to consider the referendum option. That if the executive branch doesn't care, we haven't done a lot of referendums, and we should probably do a few more, and that'd be a great place to start. Yes.
Senator, first of all, thank you for all you've done for Pasco. You've been a great partner, and Olympia, we really appreciate it. Wanted to know your thoughts on Blake decision, state Supreme Court
Well, I would rank Blake amongst the worst decisions of my 30 years in office. Because the big thing is we're not going to get people into treatment. A lot of times you got these lower level people, they would go to a drug court. And even some of the hard cases came to accept that. I think we haven't adequately funded it with $15 billion left over. And I hope that a different legislature would look at it, because to just look the other way blindly at hard drugs doesn't make any sense. So we'll see how November turns out. Blake essentially did that. Under the Blake decision, if you can think of a drug that's objectionable to your values, it's legal in small quantities. And, you know, you can take a libertarian view of this, but if you can't hold someone and get them into treatment that has a problem, you've pretty well turned a blind eye. So the Blake decision effectively did what Oregon did. We just haven't legalized psychedelic mushrooms yet.
It might be actually a silly question, but I've heard that some states are considering suspending the gas tax to help get through this time. Is that anything that might be silly for Washington to consider? But
Interestingly enough, we did. The newest member of the Senate and the youngest in history, Simon Sef did, proposed it. And we couldn't get a vote on it, so we made procedural motions every 4 hours at the end that maybe we could take this huge general fund surplus and get something back to middle-class taxpayers. It was ironic, the people said, no, it's all going to go to big oil. But if we did a 3-day sales tax holiday for retail, it wouldn't go to big business. Now that was an interesting contradiction to me. But yes, my caucus did try it. 22 years and some months old. And as the late Bob McCaslin once said, I've got neckties older than that senator. But you talk about sharp. I mean, I joke about millennials and this and that. That young man can research his own floor speeches with material that would make any orator of my generation jealous. Wish him well in November. Well, you know, I think that we eventually let draft resistors back in. Vaccination resistors ought to have at least similar breaks, because we're going to need those skilled people. We saw, you know, the pass being closed this winter for lack of people running plows, loaders. Hopefully they're going to treat these people at least as well as people that resisted the draft and just not take as long.
I'll let Kim come up in the meantime while she's working her way up here. I guess we'll draw the, you want to draw a lucky winner, please?
It's our prize time, brought to us today by Energy Northwest. And our winner today is Mr. Rob from, did he leave?
Gaza's gone. Well, okay, if the board approves, then I guess.
Oh, he never leaves early. So it's like, look over there and he went there. It's a GISA. Well, there's lots of GISA people here. Thank you for supporting us, by the way. So, Ms. Marisol Gonzalez, congratulations. At least raise your hand so we know which one of you it is. There we go. Thank you, and congratulations to you. So, as always, thank you to the Red Lion, and thank you for all of you for being here, and to PSC-TV for filming today. Thanks a bunch. And next month's luncheon will be a surprise, so stay tuned. All right, thanks all. Have a great day.